Sponsored by our friends at Nice Day, a brand and place advisory headquartered here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Queen City Unleashed. This is our 51st episode, and we are glad to be back after a very well-deserved break. If you're joining us for the first time, we've just completed 50 episodes of this podcast running over 2 years. And truthfully, I'll say this, I'm really proud of us. It's been a lot of hard work to get there, but we've talked to amazing people. And truthfully, at this point, I can say, I feel like we're doing a really good job of documenting the really amazing people we have in the city, from businesses to restaurants to yoga instructors to all the other random things, artists in the city. We're really doing a really cool thing here, telling their stories. And I am really proud of that. And that was the goal that I had when I set out for Queen City Unleashed. So after a well-deserved break, we are back for our 51st episode. And I cannot think of a better guest to have as our first guest back than Daniel Gibson, right here, the managing director of Nice Day. And if you're wondering why you know the name Nice Day, you just heard it 45 seconds ago in the intro. As the podcast sponsor for Queen City Unleashed, Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It is an honor. I think you know how highly I think of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And to be sitting next to you is it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is Daniel's one of these people that I think Charlotte's just got a really cool network of folks. And Daniel and I met. I will say this because it's a very funny story. Our friends at Pizza Baby were celebrating, I think it was a year ago, we're celebrating a top 50 pizza. Yeah. And we were there, and I literally pointed Daniel out across the room to my wife, and I was like, that guy's at the gym, like when I go to the gym, because I'm a tall guy and Daniel's taller than me. So I noticed when consistently there's a taller person around me. So I saw him every morning. And then the next day, and I think it's the only time it's happened, we walked into the gym at the same time, and he's going up the steps and I'm going right behind him. And we both kind of looked at each other and we're like, didn't I see you last night? And we got to the top of the steps, talked for a little bit, and then said, hey, let's do lunch. And after lunch, I literally went home and told my wife, I was like, this guy gets it. I was like, he's a really cool dude. And then we kind of became friends. And then here we are now.
I just told that story over lunch about an hour ago, which is hysterical. But yeah, man, I knew about what you guys were doing. I'm just kind of serendipitous in many ways, you know, just running into each other, and here we are.
Yeah, perfect. Shout out to Steven at Pizza Baby.
Later. Let's go.
Their win is our win here.
That's right.
Okay, icebreaker question. You do so much across the city in real estate, hospitality, all sorts of stuff like that, right? And so I always try to have an icebreaker question that is catered to that person in their field. So yours is, what is a hot take you are tired of hearing about the city of Charlotte? Because Charlotte, I feel like it's become like this fun thing to have hot takes about the city, what we don't have or what we don't do well, or I feel like everything gets exaggerated. What is one that you would say that you're kind of like, you're over it? Like, all right, let's get over ourselves and kind of move on.
Great question. Two things come to mind. The first I would say is that Charlotte doesn't have culture, because it has tremendous amounts. But that's, I think, more and more people are talking about that, which is awesome. I would say the second piece is, and I'm incredibly grateful for some legislation that just passed, but we don't need any more parking. We need less parking, more density, more walkability. I think in so many ways, that is what will feed culture and growth of a city. And I understand that there are challenges that come with that, of course. I don't know how hot of a take that is. I think you have to really be in the space, but at least for me, I love that we're removing that requirement from developers, because whether it actually rears its head and changes how we build things here, I just want less parking.
Yeah. I think you sound like Tesho, our mutual friend Tesho, who's all about walkability. And it's like, he's right. Like, you go to some like these really, really cool cities. I mean, I was in New York a couple of times like last year, and then Chicago. And it's like the way they have their spaces set up. It's like you can live and do everything in one area and walk or bike and not need to like drive a car. And like we have some pockets of that. Like if you're in South End, like that exists. Like you can get around South End pretty easily. But like it shouldn't just stop in South End and Uptown. Like we have so many neighborhoods across the city that I think we need to do a better
Yeah.
job of like how do we connect those
I
things.
just love it too because I think what makes culture is your community and the
Yeah.
people that you choose to go out and interact with. And the closer you live to people, the easier that
Yeah.
becomes, right? Like we don't have fences that build barriers. We just literally walk out our door and there's 10 other doors that are right next
Yeah.
to us.
Exactly.
And there's something really powerful about that.
Yeah. I think it's the sooner we can get to that, like even where we are on the west side, like I love our spot, but like we're 25-ish minute walk from like the strip that's got stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like I wish somehow it gets more connected. That's like we lived in South End. I remember that. It was great to like walk out your apartment and then you're walking to
Yeah.
whatever brewery or
For sure.
restaurant or whatever. And then like your friends that are in your apartment, you guys are all doing the same thing. So it was like it was a great like we built community that way in our apartment. And those are like
Yeah.
still friends that we have 6 years later from
Yeah.
moving here.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we figure out how to do that? Your first point, I'm glad you said that. I'm not surprised by the whole we don't have culture thing. In the 50th episode, we actually had some people talk about that, and it's like Charlotte does have culture, and it's like
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
do. I think people just need to do a better job of like it doesn't have to look the way that you think it's going to look. Like if we get caught up comparing our culture to other cities' culture, you're gonna miss the culture that's here. Like
For sure.
we're Charlotte is Charlotte, not anywhere else. And so how do we embrace it, show up in the culture now? And if this isn't the culture that works for you, that's perfectly fine.
Sure.
But we can't say that it doesn't exist because I see it, you see it, like you were part of building, helping to build and curate that in different forms. And so
Sure.
I think it's yeah, I agree.
I guess I would just say to that too. Like, I feel like culture is a responsibility, and the responsibility is that you create culture.
Hmm.
Culture doesn't just exist because you want it to in a certain way. It's like culture is there because people act a certain way, they behave a certain way, they get together in a certain way, they celebrate certain types of
Yeah.
things, they eat certain types of foods and drink, and that requires an act of doing. And I feel like in many ways our culture today, broader American culture, and has really embraced like ease of access, and Amazon can deliver
Yep.
everything, and Uber Eats can deliver
Yeah.
everything, and DoorDash can deliver everything. And so, yeah, you're right. Like when we choose to take the easy route with everything, culture starts to fall apart. But when you choose to take action and go meet your friend and grab food and grab drink, that's where you start to create culture, whether you realize it or not. So it's a
Yeah.
responsibility. And I think oftentimes the people that say we don't have culture are the ones that are using DoorDash and Uber Eats and
Yeah.
aren't taking
You
actions.
know what? I was thinking about this, and this was not on the list of topics, but I'm going to go there because you and I've had you're kind of teeing this up, and I feel like those are always opportunities I have to seize. Culture and community, I feel like sometimes in this conversation can be intertwined of like building culture and building community. The other piece of that, you're saying the ease of access. The other thing for me that I've noticed is people have to show up.
Yeah.
Like, I think our culture, and there's a balance to this, but the narrative of like, hey, I need to protect my peace, which I think people need to.
Yeah.
I think we swung the pendulum way too far. And protecting my peace became any
Yeah.
small inconvenience I'm no longer
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
But in those inconveniences is where I think you build real community and culture.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm tired. I know my friend is having a birthday party, but instead of saying, hey, I was worn out, I needed a mental health day. And I'm not saying don't take that. Like, I think there's a really healthy balance. But I think of our parents as like in the middle of their friends all going through whatever, still showing up for the birthday party, still showing up for the thing. It's like, and that's why our parents' friends have been friends for like so long and they have that community.
Totally.
And like, that's something that kind of kills me sometimes. Like, you have to show up, like, and for your friends, and sometimes that is a sacrifice. Like, that is sometimes like, hey, I'm tired. I don't want to go do this. Or, hey, you know what? I'm just not sure. But like going to do the thing and show up in the
Yeah.
space and like inconveniencing yourself is where you're going to find those really beautiful, blissful moments where it's just like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. And I think we have gotten so far from the willingness to do that and
Yeah.
like protecting it, staying at home and like, oh, I don't want to like, and it doesn't mean it has to be expensive every time you go out too.
Right.
Like sometimes it's just going to your friend's house, like grabbing a bottle at the store and just going to drink it, like whatever your enjoyment is. But you've gotten so comfortable, I think, just saying like, oh, it doesn't exist and we're not going to try. And now it's like, I don't know if you have anyone to blame but yourself. So
Yeah.
that's something I was thinking about recently that kind of tied into.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking down and I'm seeing you rocking a pair of Nikes. Shout out Nike. But we oftentimes talk about, a brand
Yeah.
all the time at Nice Day. And one of our favorite taglines of any company is Nike's just
Just
do it.
yeah.
I mean, it's so applicable in so many ways. Obviously, their angle is through the
Yeah.
sports
Yeah.
lens, but as the brand has grown and expanded, it applies to so many different areas.
Yeah.
Nike has office shoes the same way they have athletic
Yeah.
shoes, running shoes. And so I don't know, it's always one that I think about because it really is a responsibility. Just go do the thing. I have a good friend of mine who, before fatherhood, I know something that we'll talk a
Yeah.
bit about, but, a dear friend, who I respect tremendously, made it a point to tell me, up until that, just go do the thing. Go do anything that you want. Go do it. Make sure you go do it. Don't sit on the couch and,
Yeah.
take the easy way out. And, in many ways that was kind of like leading up to becoming a dad.
Yeah.
But I think it applies to so much more in life. And it is a responsibility
Yeah.
of just, all of us in general. So
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. But yeah.
And then also doing the thing, you never know what's gonna happen. So like this podcast has led to so many different like relationships like this and
Yeah, no doubt.
events we have done and people who have gotten to meet. But like one that I'm like super, super proud of is we did a cocktail class with Bob Peters. And you
Yeah,
know
which
Bob,
looks
like
awesome. Yeah,
he's a
yeah.
legend here, right? But
Indeed.
the really cool thing, the best compliment, truthfully, and this is like somewhat a humble brag, but to get from my friends was like, you have taken this podcast and really found a way to connect people and create community.
Yeah.
And I'm like, out of anything else this podcast could ever achieve, that is probably the thing I'm most proud of. It's like creating spaces for people to gather, do the thing, like just do the thing. Like it was a free class. You just gotta show up. Like truthfully, all you had to do was show up and do the thing. And now you're meeting people, and now you guys want to hang out, and now you're friends outside of Queen City Unleashed. And Bob gets to share a really beautiful, amazing gift with you
Yeah,
guys, and
it's
you get
awesome.
something out of it. And to me, it's like, yeah, the just do it is something that I've learned. Like it's gonna take you much, you're gonna be a lot more happy in life with the just do it mentality than the like overthinking and like
For
I don't
sure. For
know,
sure.
like it's
And how many times have you or anyone for that matter ever regretted doing the
yeah,
thing?
you know,
Every time you come home from the thing, you're like, this was awesome.
yeah, I
Why
want to
did I
do it
not do
again.
this
Yeah,
earlier? And so, yeah, in many ways, while in that moment, you are just doing whatever that specific action or activity is. But again, going back to where we started this conversation, like you are by doing that thing or taking that
yeah,
action, creating culture. And I think it's extremely important. So hopefully we have less of the personal space, self-care component. There is a place for
yeah,
that.
absolutely. I
But
don't
there
want that
also
to be misconstrued. Like there is a
right. There
healthy place for it.
there is and there needs to be because we also live in a culture where we are almost always on,
Yeah,
but we just can't take it so far where we no longer show up.
yeah.
And I think that's the takeaway.
Showing up is important. And
Yeah.
showing up changes, and I'm just gonna go ahead and go there because you kind of mentioned it. If you didn't notice, I'm wearing a hat that says Dad Gang today. And so if you listened to or watched the live cocktail class from Bob Peters, my wife and I are expecting. So I think this is the first time I've said it on the podcast. And so we are back from our 50th break, but our baby is due soon. And so if you don't see an episode for a while, we probably had a baby, and we are taking some well-deserved time off. But don't worry, we're not leaving. The podcast will be back. We've got a whole bunch of great stuff in the bank that will be coming out. But Daniel, you've also recently become a dad 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Dude, how is that?
Yeah. It is incredibly challenging and incredibly rewarding at the same time. More than anything, shout out all moms because you guys are rock stars having seen what I've seen over the past 11 months. We are by far the inferior
Oh, we're
sex.
chumps.
We are chumps, and I
We're
mean
chumps.
that sincerely.
Mhm.
Have been it's been an amazing experience. But I am just so amazed by my better half and
Yeah.
uh, just what she's done. It's been really, really cool to be a
Yeah.
part of. So it's been really cool, man.
Yeah,
Really,
I'm
really cool.
excited. One of the again, I think this ties these two things together, and the showing up piece of this. And this episode, if it feels like overly like comfortable and casual, because Daniel and I have had like a lot of really fun, like honest conversations. Like he's a couple months ahead of me in this whole fatherhood process, and so
Yeah.
like we get to talk about that. And one of our more recent conversations, like he said some stuff that like I really had to sit with because I'm like, this is going to be really real for me. But in the showing up to do things and like just being there comes like real relationship. And there's this whole narrative around guys and like not talking about real stuff. And I just want to like, it's not always true. Like sometimes guys need to do better. But like this is a really good example of a guy who like shows up and is like honest, and it doesn't always mean vulnerable and crying or anything, but like it's going to really tell you what's going on, and that's something that I appreciate. And it's always women do it better, and it's like sure, probably probably cut out for it, but like guys do too. And for me, as someone who's about to be a dad, I've got Daniel and I've got my buddy Justin that's helped with shoots before, and like these are two guys that like have kids, Justin's daughters too, that I get to like learn from, like pick their brains, and like also support one another. Like I remember when you guys are leading up to it, it's like, hey, are you good? Do you need anything? And it's
Yeah.
even if they don't need anything, like that offering of support. For you, when you think of all the things you're doing, I know that is now the most important thing in your life. But
I
as
know. Yeah.
being running this company, what is that balance like in the first couple of months? Like this is really fresh.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I remember, I mean, I love everyone that I get to work alongside, but I remember one of my team members, you know, partners for that matter, asked me, like, what am I most anxious about? What am I most excited about? And I remember like nervous, anxious, whatever you might qualify it as. But I think for me, it was figuring out how to balance running Nice Day and being such a big part, playing a big part in it and
Yeah.
caring genuinely so deeply. Like I love what I get to do. I love the people that I get to work alongside. They are incredibly talented. I love the city of Charlotte that I have called home now for over 9 years. I love the partners that we get to support. And so I think in many ways, certainly leading up to it and even now, like I was really worried about how I strike that balance because I
Yeah.
knew that I was going like have a daughter. She is the best thing in my
Yeah.
life. And I mean, obviously my wife is
Yeah.
as well. Don't get me
Absolutely. Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
The two most important ladies in my life. And I knew that I was gonna wanna squeeze her and hug her and
Yeah.
kiss her every second, you know, and that's still the case. So it's not an easy balance. I don't quite know what the equation is. I think it's really trying to, certainly to an extent, reprioritize.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we met at the gym. That has always been something that has been fundamental to my life and how I've taken care of myself, both mentally and physically. And while it may not look the part as much these days, I've had to sacrifice there a little bit.
Yeah.
I've had to sacrifice some friendships, certainly in the short term, as I pour more of my time into my family. And
Yeah.
that's both at home and in the office as well, because they both, are my number one and number two priorities right now, or interchangeable and sometimes. But I think it's just been kind of a reprioritization of how I allocate my
Yeah.
time. But man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I know parents say all the time, like, you never really know until you
Yeah.
go through it. And I
Yeah.
was always like, yeah, whatever that means. But having gone through it now, it's the most special thing, waking up at 3 in the morning to change a diaper or whatever it might be. It doesn't, you're like, whatever, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever. And it's just, obviously incredibly excited for you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
We've
you.
talked about that at length,
Yeah.
but,
That conversation we had the last time I was in here really did, like, I truly mean it. Like, I sat with that probably for some days of just like the reality of what you were saying of like, it is incredibly rewarding and beautiful, but like also just hard.
yeah,
And like, I
yeah,
think that started to shift the reality for me of like, having a baby, like at first it's like it's the fun thing, like, oh, we're having a kid. Like, and that's just
without a
exciting.
doubt.
And then as you get closer and closer, then it's like the responsibility of it. And then as dad, husband, like what does that look like? What is your wife going through after? Like postpartum is very real for
Yep.
so many women. So like how do you show up there? Like we talked about, like as a dad, you probably also are emotionally going through things. And like how do you balance how you talk about that and be supportive at the same time
Yeah.
of these two we're also having a daughter. So like these two women that are gonna be in my life. And like that conversation we had was just really helpful and like giving me a healthier dose of reality of what's to come, and not in a scary way, but like in a way that's like I need to like mentally prepare as best I can on like one, us communicating, like what
Sure.
do we need from each other and like how do
Sure.
we get there. And so it's I'm grateful to have people who are like, who knew? Like when we met, I don't think you guys weren't pregnant at the
No,
time.
no,
We were
no,
not.
no.
So it's like for us to become friends and this to happen,
Yeah.
then like now all of a sudden, like we're a couple months apart in this journey. I'm just like, sometimes things just line up so perfectly that it's just like, oh, this is meant to be. So
No, it's gonna be super cool. Mm, this experience has been incredible,
yeah,
but it doesn't come without its
yeah,
hardships. And I'm grateful for my partner in life. Shout out Blandine. She's a rock star.
yeah,
But we have always placed a tremendous emphasis on communication, and that foundational skill for us carries through to where we are today. And obviously, life has gotten quite a bit more complex for
yeah,
us, and we put pressures on ourselves of being great leaders and great business
yeah,
owners. But also great parents and great community members and great friends and great family members. And so I feel like at times, I'm very fortunate and I understand that, no
yeah,
doubt, but doesn't mean I don't hold myself to a high standard. And I think what has allowed us to, whatever extent we have found success in all of those responsibilities, has been our ability to communicate and to talk through challenges
yeah,
and to support one another. One day, one person's going to be a better father or mother or leader at our company or friend, and the other is going to be a worse version of that.
yeah,
And that's okay because we're a balance and we
yeah,
will be there to support one another, and we will try to take off weight where the other needs support. And so I think that approach has definitely helped us. And I'm incredibly grateful that we have that as part of our relationship and our partnership together, because it ain't easy,
yeah.
but it's not
It's
supposed to be
worth it.
easy. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want it to be
the
anyway,
things worth it are never
so
easy.
that's
They're like
exactly right.
ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you can
for
see,
sure.
like, this is what I say. Daniel's just so dope. Like, this is what I mean. Like, this is his frame and reference for life. I think is fantastic. But okay, nice day. You reference this and having this business with your wife. Tell me about the beginning of Nice Day. You guys aren't from Charlotte. You mentioned you've been here 9 years. Can you give me a little bit of that journey for both of you individually, and then kind of coming together to start Nice Day, and some of like those early days?
For sure. Well, I am far, far less interesting. Grew up in the Northeast in New Jersey. Um, Went to school in Arizona, which is where Blondine and I met. Started my career in sales and then marketing and then consulting for about 10 plus years. Left, joined a startup to figure out how business works and how
Yeah.
you build and what that all looks like. And then Nice Day was formed on the opposite side. My partner at Nice Day, Blondine, studied graphic design and illustration and has always been in house in agencies and just is such an incredible talent. We met in college, so we've
Okay.
been together
Same.
for, yeah, which is, I know,
Yeah.
we're pushing, I want to say 18
Whoa,
years.
dude.
I guess I'm aging myself, which is I'm wearing a hat to cover the grays.
Dude,
Uh,
18 years that's great.
18, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure that's the number.
Is it, real quick, isn't it weird when you realize that most of your adult life you've been making the memories with the same person?
It's awesome.
Like
It's
it's
so cool.
when I think about it, like Altair and I have been together since we were 19, and I've
Yeah.
known her since I was 18.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
was 21 and Blondine was
there's no
18.
part of my adult life that she was not there for. Like, and
Yeah.
that's weird sometimes that I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
you've been here for all of it. Like the
It's
good, bad.
crazy.
Like if I think of the worst day of my life as an adult, she was there for that, and the best day she's been there for that. I'm like, it's really only my childhood you miss.
It's
Like that's
really,
it's
but it's
weird.
so cool,
Yeah.
because I feel like really, you change a little bit through your younger years, but like you really figure out who you
Oh yeah.
are once you get into your late 20s, and then you start to figure out like, what do I want my friend group to look like? What do I want to do professionally? And maybe for some it's a little bit later. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it was a little bit later than that for me, but yeah, it's really special to be able to be on this journey with her for as long as we have. So those are our respective disciplines and skills. And when the world was on fire with COVID, we were like, let's throw a little bit more gasoline on this, and we
That's
decided
brave.
to. We're not the only ones that
I
did it,
know,
but
I
yeah, it
know,
took
but still,
took a
it is
little.
brave.
No doubt, yeah, no doubt.
Was there
Little
something?
crazy, a little bravery, a
wa-
little bit of all that.
Was there something you saw, or just a feeling you guys both had that like Yeah, I'm assuming you probably knew you guys wanted to do something yourself, right?
Yeah, I think we definitely had like the interest of carving our own path. I think a lot of people at that time were questioning, if I'm doing it for you, can I do it for myself?
Yeah.
So you saw a big wave of people that kind of jumped ship, and shout out to all those that were able to continue
Yeah.
doing it that way. It's not easy, and we know that, but I don't know, we were just like incredibly motivated by that, and probably a few other factors. I've always had an interest in entrepreneurship. I
Yeah.
just hadn't yet taken that risk, and I learned a lot through the corporate world. I learned a lot with the startup that I joined, and it just felt like the right, if not now,
Yeah.
when type, mentality. Um, I looking back now, I realize just how important it is to understand, like, how important comprehensive business plans are. Not paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
but you really understand,
The
like, what is
basics,
your
like,
niche and where are
yeah.
you going and what's the problem that you're solving for consumers. And I think in many ways we looked at ourselves and we're like, well, you've got one skill set, you're an incredible creative, and I'm okay at business and this thing here. Like, what if we combined our forces and what could we do
Yeah.
together? And that was, the birth of Nice Day.
So right
We
there,
Yeah, yeah.
Nice Day is, for anyone who doesn't know, is
Yeah, Nice Day is a brand and place advisory that has been an evolution
yeah.
for many years. But in short, we help both strategize, advise on how you create brand and how you build community around retail, hospitality, and commercial real estate. But as I said, it was an evolution, and as business should evolve and brand should evolve, we certainly have. And so when we first started, we were really hyper focused on consumer packaged goods. So if you're walking the center store of a grocery outlet, we were working on packaging design, brand design, high end studio photography,
Really?
you name it.
I
Like,
didn't realize that you guys did packaging to
yeah,
start.
consumer packaged goods was a huge, huge focus of ours. I spent a lot of years in that industry.
Okay.
Blandine had a bit of experience there as well, and I think it was also looking at the broader landscape at the time. E-commerce was really blowing up because we were in COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
You could turn up websites relatively quickly, white label a product, build a beautiful brand, and try to build community around it.
Yeah.
And so there seemed to be a lot of opportunity, and for better or for worse, we enjoyed that space. We were adamant about it, but it just wasn't our right calling. It was also extremely challenging. We'd have relationships with partners out in California or Utah, but we were making nothing.
Yeah.
Just building portfolio at that time was the name of the game for us, and so we couldn't fly out to treat our customer to a dinner and check in and how things were going. And passively, Blondine's prior experience here in Charlotte, we knew a number of folks in hospitality, and
Okay.
slowly but surely would take on some projects. And it was funny. I just remember at times in those early days, we were both like, we don't really know if we want to get into hospitality. It seems very challenging, and it is in many
Yeah.
ways. But sometimes you just kind of reverse engineer things. And, by choice, I don't drink. Food has always been something that brings me and friends and family together.
Yeah.
And while we reverse engineered it, hospitality in many ways was this like really great place to also try and build community because we found ourselves doing it.
Yeah.
And it just was a logical opportunity for us to support good friends at the time that were building things like Kat and Eric with Vostrica. And it was just, I don't know, it was a really fun time just trying to figure out our left from our right and what the heck we were doing.
If you didn't hear what he just said, he likes to eat. And he found a way to make eating or being around food his business.
That's it.
Note to self, you want to start a business. What are you passionate about? And can you find a way to take a skill set that you have and tie it with that passion?
That's right.
And then you love what you do.
That's right. That's right. That's a good point.
Clever. I see what you did there.
Yeah. So you just helped me reverse engineer another component of that choice at the time. I think the other piece for us as well was historically we had moved around every couple of years with what our works required of us. And this was the first time we had lived anywhere for an extended period of time. Charlotte was home at this point for about 4 years because now we're going on 9. And we've been building Nice Day for 5.5. This is our 6th year in business. And it was just a really awesome opportunity to just better connect with the community. Going back to where we started of like, go do the thing.
Yeah.
I felt like in many ways, having worked for corporate, I never had a reason to invest in my community and my
Yeah.
neighborhood, because it's like one city to the next city to the next city. And
You knew it
there's a
was short
time and
term.
place. Exactly. And there's a time and place for that, but that wasn't now. That wasn't then. And so building locally felt appropriate, and it was obviously as intentional as we could be. There was an element of like, hey, there's two people that are trying to build a company. We've got a mortgage to pay. We don't have income,
Yeah.
you know? But at the same time, it did also kind of scratch some of these other itches of building locally and building in an industry that, of course, we love
Yeah.
food, love to eat. And I think you do things the right way and good things happen. And, we just continued to show up, continued to pour our hearts into what we were doing, continued to go and do the thing and
Yeah.
meet people and try to add value and go the extra mile. And that's something that we will never lose sight of. There's a constant hunger in me to want to grow, but grow the right way,
Yeah.
never lose sight of where we started. And so fast forward to where we are today, we're a team of about 15 people. Our office is in South End. We focus, as I shared, primarily on commercial real estate, hospitality, and retail. We get to help amazing partners in the Southeast build brands, build community, the strategy behind it, the advisory behind it. Like it is, I mean this sincerely. And I was talking about this a little bit over lunch as well earlier of like, I have never been more passionate. I've never felt more fulfilled with what I get to do every single day now than what I did for my entire professional career. And I walked away from the golden handcuffs. That's not the case, certainly any longer.
Yeah.
But I have found the reward in these relationships
Yeah.
because this is what
Mhm.
matters. Um, Helping to build a city, bring more soul and character through our creative and through our thought process. Like to me, that is incredibly rewarding. I have made so many truly amazing friends through building Nice Day that I am forever grateful for, that will be alongside myself and I will be alongside them for years and years, decades. And for that, it's invaluable. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean that sincerely. Like it has been the most rewarding thing I have ever done. And I hope we can continue to find ways to keep this train running for many, many, many more years.
I'm sure you
So
guys will, Daniel, because you and Blondine both are about the right things. I think going back to like where we started as far as like hot takes and culture, like you guys, like part of your job now is helping to build that culture.
sure.
And so, like, what better part of me also thinks of from the lens of gratitude, what better thanks to a city that somehow convinced you to stay than to add to it? And like I talk about like Charlotte as a canvas all the time, but like Nice Day has got like its own little piece of this canvas that it is helping to color in and fill in. And I think that's like what really, these are the things that you look back 20, 30 years from now. And I think I've joked about this before when we're the old heads and it's like, oh, yeah, we love this area. And it's like, oh, yeah, that area is because Nice They had an idea with this developer and then they built this. And now it's like this beloved thing in the city. We don't get to that point like other cities have unless you're doing the work now to help us get there. And so that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you guys. It's not just like let's help people spin up a whole bunch of restaurants, but it's like even in these restaurants from the hospitality standpoint, it's like what is the story that they're telling, like what is the distinct vibe, because like you go when you travel you remember the distinct vibe of a place, like the moment you the feeling you had the moment you had there, and like you guys are just so thoughtful about that. And so when it's there and then commercial and like that looks like so many different things in our city. And so I think you guys are will be around for a very, very, very long time. But I'm also convinced that like your fingerprint will be around so many other things that you guys have done. Um, I'm genuinely curious, and for people who don't know you, what are some projects that you guys have been a part of? You talked about Lustrika, but
Yeah.
like there's some
Yeah.
other, there's one around the corner here that's like that we all went to, the crew went to, and it was really good. Like, what are some of those projects that you guys are really proud to have like had your hand in across the city?
Yeah. I'm sure some will hit differently for everyone or
Yeah.
anyone watching. some that certainly come to mind, I'm sure folks are familiar with, but Vinyl, Folia, the story of Mi Carino on the corner, working with those groups and their leadership has been nothing short of amazing. Trying to think of others. We've had the opportunity to work with a bunch of concepts in An Optimist Hall, Poppy Queso, Schreiber's on Rye, Max Speed Shop, even local groups like Hickory Tavern that have been around for years. That is, let's call them a chain, but goodness, they are born here
Yeah.
and they are a Charlotte local concept that's only in the Carolinas. Like there's something really special about that.
They
So
gave me
that's
my first feature with them.
that's
I don't know
right.
if it's technically a feature, but
That's right.
I got a random text from Daniel. It's like, "Hey, I need you to come in and can you come do this?" Before I knew it, I was eating a whole bunch of chicken fingers and sandwiches, and they were taking pictures. And then I saw myself in their ad on social media. I was like, "Wait!" I was like, "That's me." But
That's awesome.
honestly, like Hickory
Yeah.
Tavern is not one that I knew of. That it was like to me would have just been a random sports bar,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh no, they're Carolinas
Which is
based, which
and
is nuts.
it's telling the story again,
Yeah,
which I'm so grateful that we get to work with them and many other groups. But like people will oftentimes assume that chain or this, and so like maybe part of my responsibility is having to curate a list of what is local to
yeah.
Charlotte. I was talking to Chris Coleman. Shout out Chris, awesome chef, just great guy, great leadership. I mean that whole group they do great stuff. But Chris and I were talking about eating local and how important that is. So
How
I
often
guess
are you
putting
okay? You
yeah.
get out to eat outside of work too. I'll tell you, and I had this conversation a couple months ago. When we're in Charlotte, the only thing that we might eat that is a chain is going to be a quick in and out while hitting the road somewhere,
Sure.
Chick-fil-A or Cava, maybe Chipotle. That's it. And that's rare. Like it
Yeah.
didn't click to me how much that has changed us living in Charlotte that like we only eat at Charlotte local places. Like we're
Yeah.
not eating like, and there's some great like you talk about like a steak 48 that people love, and but like there are other steakhouses that if I go to a steakhouse, I'm probably just gonna go to one of the local steakhouses instead of that. And not that it's not good. I haven't even been, but it's like I can go if it's the steak I want, I can go eat a steak somewhere else. So for you guys too, like, do you notice how much you only eat Charlotte food?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of it is that we're so ingrained as well in Charlotte that
Yeah.
like I know immediately what is a chain
Yeah.
and what is local. And by chain, let's also qualify that. Like there is different types. There's
Yeah.
different
I'm thinking more national chain.
right,
Like
right, like PE.
they're in every city.
Yeah. PE type money. It's different
Yeah.
versus like something that's extremely curated that happens to move here, right?
Yeah.
It's like their third location or something
Right.
like that. But um yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that like I am so connected to the broader hospitality, food and beverage industry. That, like I know immediately what is or what isn't,
Yeah.
and it's a choice, and I'm grateful for that. But maybe we need to do a better job. I can certainly play a role in this, and hopefully others too. But like talking about what is actually local. Maybe there needs to be some type of guide. Center City Partners. Maybe Nice Day will work with you on that. But I think guides like that could certainly help because it's a choice. We all have choices.
Yeah.
We all have choices to vote with our wallet.
Yes, with or
And
yeah.
that's a really important part around again building culture. There's not to say there isn't a place for larger chains because they do also fit a part of the equation, but we should never lose sight of our neighbors that are
Yeah.
trying to build things and that are really special.
That's the lose sight of our neighbors piece is one that I've been wrestling with recently, and I don't know the right balance for it. There's a couple of big national chains, or at least one top of mind bakery that's moved here, and that's all the buzz and like the
Yeah.
headlines around the door and stuff. And people were so excited, and I am not the any authoritative voice when it comes to Charlotte, but I love my city and I want my city to do well and I
Yeah.
want the local businesses to do well. I think I struggled personally seeing all the hype around it when month or two before that there was a well-known Charlotte bakery that was like we're having to close our doors. And like
Yeah.
seeing other Charlotte bakeries talk about the struggles that they're having, but then it's like some of the people who are like voices for the city like hopping on the trend. And I don't know what that balance looks like. And it's something that I'm having to figure out for myself, but it's like whatever they're selling there, I'm sure you can get somewhere else at one of the local. Like I'm a huge not just coffee guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
going in there for if I need a cookie, I'm going to La Bomboniere, like a batch maker. Like I know where I'm
Totally.
going to get my local fix for these things. and I don't know what that balance is in a city, and you're probably a little more of an expert there, but like it does hurt me a little when some of our locals close and then a bigger chain comes in and then all of a sudden they're packed all the time, and it's like, is it just the name that we're attracted to? And as humans, I feel like there is some of that, like to be able to go and say I took the picture, like it's like going to a Nobu. It's like, I went to Nobu. Like you probably go somewhere else and get really good food like a Nobu, but like to say you went to Nobu.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that balance looks like in our city. And I don't know if you have an answer, and maybe it's not something that there is an answer for, but it's a personal balance that people have to find. But that's something that I see across the city, and I wish somehow were different.
Yeah. Well, I guess like, the first thing I think about is like it's not this or that, and we very much so live in a world where
The case,
that's the
yeah,
case. It's either you do this or you do that. You either think like this or you think like that. And I think in many ways, like that type of dialogue is the way we also are choosing to think about the restaurant space.
sure,
It just kind of is this thread through almost everything in culture. And look, there is a reality. There's a reason why these places exist. I just think about like, Charlotte is growing. In many ways, it's a good thing. I understand. Again, people will have opinions about that. I think it's a terrific thing.
absolutely,
We have a responsibility to do it the right way. But
yes,
when you think about why people choose to go somewhere, there's a role that some of these chains might play because it's familiar,
yeah,
right? And this goes back to brand and what makes people choose things is familiar to these people. What is local may be less familiar, but it may also be way better. And so while you can spend some of your wallet going to a chain, you should also choose to spend some of that wallet going to local. And I think that's why it's just important to talk about it. I will always advocate for small. I will always choose small.
yeah,
That's also because I am small
yeah,
and I have a business and I understand those challenges. But it isn't this or that. And I think that's an important part of this equation. There is a place, and we can coexist with all of these types of concepts. But there's a lot. I mean, again, there's so much more to this. We are just quite literally scratching the surface. And yeah, I'm sure plenty of people will want to talk about this. I will entertain that conversation for sure. But I do think it's
Come chat with Daniel. Like
yeah.
we've had a couple hour conversation about this over lunch before. So I do. He's
No
a
doubt.
great person
Yeah.
and a very educated voice. That's the other thing. I think when these conversations happen, I think a lot of people have opinions that are very, very misinformed. And I think in the talk of Charlotte, culture, community, the future of a city, there's a lot of just information out there that we can educate ourselves on. Through this podcast, I've gotten to learn from some really, really good voices to get history and context, whether that's from restaurants or small business owners or people like a Clayton Seeley that's been a guest on that we're both friends with that like has been involved in so many different ways across the city that has like I can bring something up to Clayton. He's like, well, do you want to know the story behind that? And he's got like real history behind it. So I think it's important that like before we all get really vocal about these opinions we have, to make sure we're doing some legwork of like understanding what is fact and what is fiction, and the truth wherever that lies in the middle there. Cause I think that's gonna be more helpful as like you say, we're advancing the city.
Well, look, I think a perfect example is I think about like we do a lot of stuff in commercial real estate as well. And as I think about the concept of
Yeah.
place branding, how you build an identity for an area, uh, I think about these developers and whether from an education standpoint, like it is very difficult, one, to find money, but also to make that money work long term. And money is very expensive
Hmm.
right now. And so it helps developers tremendously to have what they would otherwise, I guess, refer to as a magnet location that maybe is a chain, but then to complement that with small businesses to help offset some of the square footage
Right.
costs. And so, I think I'm sure a developer would look at me and say, "Man, maybe you just really undervalued some of the challenges,"
Right.
or restaurateurs looked at me and say, "Man, you really undervalued some of the challenges." But I think the point here is that education is important.
Yeah.
We do need to understand more of each side of this because it is extremely complex, and I can speak to that as I have just now, knowing that I've had the pleasure to help small entrepreneurs build amazing things. And I have also sat across the table from a developer that has this incredible master plan or vision for development that they're bringing to life. And this, I guess, goes back to who Nice Day is that we get to help advise as to how that place should be created, but we also get to advocate for the small local businesses.
Yeah.
How can you help build small incubator corridors or whatever it might be to support what is local
Yeah.
and what builds place in many ways. So
You
I love it, man.
you guys have
It's
created a value in yourself that is necessary and needed at the table where these conversations happen. And I think
sure.
that's an incredible step to take. And that's where real change happens by saying,
I
like,
hope so. Yeah.
we care about this. So we're going to set ourselves up to be a part of
Yeah.
the solution. So
Yeah.
that way we can't look back and say, complain and you didn't do anything, but you guys are now going to be a voice for these small businesses that we talk about.
Yeah.
In running a business overall, a nice day, one of the things that I've learned a lot from interviewing our guests is like, you see somebody being successful, or they see like the new launch of a restaurant that you guys are a part of, and they're like, oh, you guys are, that's so amazing. They don't see the bids that you put in that you don't get, and they don't see the long hours and like the stressful moments. So I've taken a lot from the honesty of business owners.
Yeah.
So what are some of those, some random things that like are hard for you guys in the work that you do, but then also some of the like the really big highlights. Like, so I'm curious to know like the balance of like the really good and the really hard
Yeah.
things that like people like myself or a casual listener might not quite understand for a brand advisory group.
Yeah. Well, as a marketer in this world, I guess the first thing I could say is perception is reality. So you might see these beautiful reels and smiling faces, but you're right. There is an incredible amount of work that goes into any business for that matter. Um, you know, I guess the first thing I'll say is, and I'm sure every entrepreneur can relate with this, the emotional roller coaster is very real. I was riding it this week a little bit, but I have a responsibility to my team,
Yeah.
to not show frustration or challenge because not that that isn't, you want to show,
Right.
of course,
But like in the right way.
right, but exactly, and so that has to be managed, and yeah, there. I mean, I. The other joke is with entrepreneurs that you trade your 9 to 5 for your 5 to 9, but I would argue for your 24/7.
For you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, by choice, I work a lot for sure, but I also love it, and I qualify work as not actually work because I
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy what I get to work on and solve. That isn't to say that it's easy. I mean, I hear for every single yes I probably hear 10 no's, you know?
And how do you
And
keep
that's
going in that? That's a
it's the
toll for a lot,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
mean, in my job, like what I do, I'm not getting a no, so I don't have to deal with
yeah,
like that constantly. But
yeah.
for you, how do you deal with that as a business owner to keep the faith in what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I think I would say in the same way that we talk to all of our partners about this, we are not for everyone. That's exactly it. Now we're getting better and better at understanding the types of problems we solve, who will benefit the most from
Yeah,
how we solve problems, and that's part of our responsibility, but we are not for everyone. And I think that's a really important component of business to understand, and certainly a concept that lends itself and rears its head in the marketing world. You have to have a very specific point of view. You have to solve very specific problems. And as we have grown and as we have learned and we have developed as a company, we have learned how we better serve our partners, the types of problems we are solving. And so I think in many ways, I guess to answer your question, I love to consistently learn. So there's a part of the equation that I keep wanting to push. I love what I'm doing, so that's also
yeah,
why. And because we've gotten better and better over time, the one yes to 10 no's is shrinking to one yes every 8 no's and one yes every 6 no's.
yeah.
And you start to increase the amount of work that you're doing without sacrificing quality, of course. And I think that's the third piece that I would say is that motivator of I see the fruits of our labor. I see how it helps our partners. I see how, going back to a question that was asked to me when I very first started my career at 21, I didn't really know what the hell this meant, but I was like, something about this is going to stick with me, which is what do I want my legacy to be?
Yeah.
And I don't think it was until Nice Day where I really started to understand how I would answer that question. Still figuring it out. But I would say I'm closer to working on that now than ever before because now I get to drive around the city. I get to go to Nashville. I get to go to Raleigh, Durham. And wherever else we've had the opportunity to play a role in creating community and culture through our efforts. And I get to say I played a role in that.
Yeah.
The company that I get to work at, that I get to work alongside amazing folks and talent at, is behind that. And that's the way I guess I push past the nose.
Yeah. And that's a legacy.
I guess it is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's crazy part is that was a
Yeah.
question I was going to ask you. I was like, what do you hope your impact
Yeah.
is on the city? And it's that like you get to like how much pride to get to drive around. It's like we were part of that, we were part of that, and that's only going to continue to grow
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
number of places and restaurants and just
Oh,
the city that you guys Nice Day has a fingerprint
yeah.
on. I do have a selfish question that I want to ask you about. So you are very proudly our sponsor of our podcast. Why on earth did you decide to do that? Like that is I you know how grateful I am to you. But just for our own records here, like it's something that and I think I've told you I wasn't planning to ask you that. Like it was not like on my list somehow. My wife and her intuition when we went and had that lunch and we talked about it, she goes, I had a feeling you were gonna come back. I was like, I don't know how you had a feeling because I wasn't thinking about that. But I will say this before you even answer that. The Nice Day and their sponsorship, what that does for a podcast and group, I like to think we're also building community in what we're doing. And that takes money. Like that's the reality of it. And so when people complain about things and events, Charlotte ain't cheap, and we're on the cheap end of cities, but it takes money to do stuff. And so, in our first year in events that we did for marketing and social media and buying stuff, like it's coming out of our own personal pockets. And it's something that if we had to continue to do that way, we would. And we still do put money in from our personal pockets. But then to have a sponsor come along and say, like, hey, we want to partner with you guys, we want to be a part of what you're doing, it makes a huge difference. And the events that we have had this year, we had 120 plus people out at a free March Madness watch party with the pro women's soccer team in the city. Like we're in year two of the podcast and we're able to do that. And that is like I feel like PBS made possible by sponsors like you. And like it truly that makes a huge difference. Like when we have to go out and buy equipment, like I can buy the quality thing for whatever the event is instead of the cheapest thing because like we've got to make the dollar stretch. And like now the quality thing we can use multiple times over again. And so I'm forever grateful for you and Blondine taking that shot on us because it isn't us, it's not just me. But from your perspective, like why?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I have had the chance to build something. I know how hard it is. We're always building something. And I have such tremendous respect for anyone that chooses to build, to try to add to community. And it was so, I mean, obvious that you were doing that. And I think I also feel success is relative, of course. I'm very grateful that Nice Day has gotten to a point where I can build relationships and not just go sell things.
Yeah.
I can pursue via interest and passion. And if we can provide value, great. Like I talked to our team, like we're never, ever selling anything ever at any point in time. And I'm very grateful for that. But I know that it's incredibly difficult and was and still will be for us to continue to have gotten to where we are and to get to where we're going. And I feel now that we are where we are, that I have a responsibility to the city, to amazing creators and entrepreneurs like yourself. We don't have all the money in the world, that's for sure. But if there is an opportunity for us to help tell more stories, to help advocate for small, to show up, I will hold myself accountable for that and do my best. And honestly, like I want to do more. I am bound by resource allocation and availability
Yeah.
and time.
Yeah.
But I will never not see a commitment through all the way. And yeah, I don't know. You're just an awesome human, and I'm grateful for our friendship.
Yeah.
And excited to continue to get to know you and
Our little girls are gonna be friends, so like you
they're
have
going to
no
be
choice.
besties.
You have
No,
no
no
choice.
doubt, no doubt.
The part that really so I was in the middle of looking for sponsors, and it was something that I was searching for last year. And I think my favorite part of Nice Day being our sponsor is that like it again, it wasn't one that I was chasing. Like I was never meeting with Daniel in hopes that like at the end of it, like one day I'm gonna like, hey, do you want to sponsor the podcast? Because in my mind, it was like, this is just a guy that I can learn from. And like a lot of it was like we had great conversation about the city, and he's got a perspective that I don't have. He's a pro. Like, and I care about the city from a passionate standpoint, but like your work requires you to know so much more about the city. And so I remember just leaving conversations like feeling more informed, or like I need to go look into this or understand this more. And so that feels like to me, that's one of the things that makes it more special. It's like truthfully, I wasn't gunning for it. I wasn't looking for it. And I remember when I told my dad was like, so this man wants to give you money. He goes, what does he want? I was like, apparently he likes what Queen City Unleashed is about. He goes, what's the scam? I said, here's the problem, Dad. I said, he's a good guy. There's no scam. I was like, he really just wants to be a part of what we're doing. And he was like, who is this guy? I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm figuring that out.
But he sold me life insurance.
That's where he got me. But no, truthfully, I am so grateful, Daniel. And like, it is em- emotionally for me, the relief that your sponsorship has provided for this podcast has been fantastic. Like there have been so many other things where I don't stress going into planning something of like,
Yeah.
do we have the money for this? Like, can we do this? And it makes a difference because, and you supporting me, you're supporting community. So like our March Madness event, Nice Day was a sponsor for that because they believe in what we're doing, and we're trying to create spaces for community. And so they become an immediate sponsor of that. Every little thing that we're doing this year, it's like you guys are part of that, and like I'm so proud of that. And like it's fun getting to hear that at the beginning of each episode. It's like brought to you by our friends at Nice Day, and it's like I'm proud of that. And like even you guys, what you're doing, like to be able to say like, yeah, I'm connected with them. It's like it's cool, and like wherever you guys go off into the city, it's going to be a part of Queen City Unleashed history that I always be like, when you guys are way too big for Queen City Unleashed, be like, hey, they worked with us before. Like I know them, and it's something that I'm
No,
really
man.
really really grateful for.
And vice versa. I'll say the same. I mean, I'm incredibly proud of the fact that we can do that.
Yeah.
And to do it for a friend, someone I think extremely highly of, means all that much more. And as we do continue to build Nice Day, I want to be able to do that 10 times over. I want to be able to support other partners. We try to show up where we can, and in many ways, how we do is a representation of how we operate. In Nice Day every single day,
Yeah.
whether it's Say Something Nice Day, whether it's trying to do art and school supply drives. We really do try to show up every single day. I should say this way: who we are as humans is how we show up to work. It's how we show up in our communities, and that's why I am so incredibly grateful of the team that I get to work alongside. And the work that we're doing allows us to work with partners like yourself. And yeah, I could care less if we are actually on anything. It's just what you're doing and what you're building is really cool, man. And we need more of this type of stuff. And hopefully we get to do more of this stuff in the future.
Yeah, that's what tripped me out. That's the one I was just like, when I ask him and it's important. Like podcasts are hard. And I tell people this all the time. Like people ask me, like, should I get into a podcast or do one? And I tell people, don't do it. And they're like, why? And they're like, you have one. I'm like, are you going to be as obsessed about it as I am? It's like, it's not. Like you're not going to be rich from podcasts. Like it's not the way to go. Yet. But like again, it's like so much of it is like, what are your numbers? What are your numbers? And your thing was like impact. And like that meant so much more to me because I'm like, all right, he cares about this for the reasons I care about this. Like, what is the story we're telling about our city? Like, who are we showcasing? Who are we highlighting? Even connecting us with like Lisa Matthews from the Bulb. And like we had our first volunteer event with the Bulb. Like that is a connection from Daniel that he's like, hey, let me introduce you to this person. We have a great interview, and then before you know, we've had like, and now we're already talking about doing another volunteer event. And it's like that is community, that is adding to culture, taking care of our neighbors also in the city, which is another really important component of that. So I'm grateful for this partnership and glad we got to do this. Got to wrap, but so I've got a few questions for you. In this whole journey, whether it is from starting Nice Day originally and it was products to brand advisory now, what have you learned about yourself in this journey? And it could be something that surprised you or something you're just proud that you have learned or a way you've grown over the years.
Well, two things come to mind. One, it's just how powerful community is, and having the chance to, I mean, I have embedded myself in this city, and I am incredibly grateful for the openness of those that I've had the chance to build relationships with, the trust that that folks have placed in me, and that is a representation of community in so many
Yeah.
ways. So I guess that's one. I'd say the other, maybe more relevant to your question, or more appropriate, is how important, and this is, I guess, specifically as it relates to having built Nice Day.
Yeah.
It's how important people are and trust is. I say this specifically from someone focused on, like, on the business, not
Yeah.
in the business. You know, Blandine and I had this vision, and we talk about this often. I think it's one of the greatest challenges as an entrepreneur is that, we've experienced the journey of Nice Day from day one to where we are today. I can't tell you how many times, she or I, mainly me, broke down crying. I have a video of me, like, we're going to shut Nice Day down because it's just not working. And these were, 12 months in, 16, 18 months in, something like that. And those moments stick with me to where we are today.
Yeah.
And I know that when people join Nice Day or they engage with Nice Day, where on their on ramp of our journey changes,
Yeah.
So, like, internally, I can't tell you how incredibly grateful I am that I can offer a 401k to our team members. That to me means everything. Knowing that there was a point in time where we had no idea what the hell we were doing, where I was breaking down, about to close the company.
Yeah.
So I guess a little bit of color into the trust component, because we wouldn't be able to be here in the people component, if we didn't find people that shared our vision, that cared the same way that we do, but that we also chose to place trust in, to carry that vision through their own lens. That as a leader has been something that I feel like I was aware of, but this hits different in just how important that is. So to me, that has been just an unbelievably incredible learning, because finding the right people and trusting them to carry that vision through as clearly as we can be about what that vision has allowed us to get to where we are today. And so I'd say that that's my learning, and I hope that I continue to be better and better at that, and place more trust, and continue to find amazing people that want to help us do what we do.
Yeah.
Because I know we are, cliche, but the sum of our parts, as a service-oriented business.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just incredibly grateful to get to work alongside everyone that I do. I mean that I walk in and I'm every morning just like a goofball. Like,
you got a fun team, man. Every time I come in here, like, it's just like, oh man, this like, it's a good vibe. It's a good energy in here, and like, you guys clearly shows up because you guys end up doing really great work.
We don't take ourselves seriously, but we sure as hell take our work seriously.
That's what we say about this. Is like, I take the podcast seriously, but when we're shooting, like, I'm trying to have fun. Like, it's like we don't everything. Life is too serious. Like, we need to have moments to like enjoy that. Okay, rapid fire on the way out. Couple of restaurants you're enjoying eating at right now.
Oh man, I mean,
and they don't have to be Nice Day affiliated, but like a couple restaurants you're really enjoying.
Story of Mi Carino. I love Elios. I mean, that's always a staple.
Okay.
Sandwiches at Los Trica slap.
Okay.
I mean, the list will go on.
Okay.
The three that just immediately.
And then things that you enjoy doing in the city, maybe not as much right now, and still figuring out work and fatherhood, but like things in the city that you love that like feel like should be highlighted.
Man, this is supposed to be rapid fire.
Yeah, quick.
I just love walking and exploring and seeing what different things are popping up. And the rail trails are a great place, exploring more of Uptown, different communities. I think getting out and, just approaching someone, asking them a question, complimenting someone, like simple things like that. I feel like maybe that's just something simple.
It's almost like he had a whole event called Say Something Nice Day. I don't know. Maybe that's where that comes in. One, if we had to pick a gem about Charlotte, for someone who is visiting, like something that like they have to see or do, what is it?
Yeah. Optimist Hall, Whitewater Center, walk around South End, check out Uptown. I mean, gosh, there's so many. Like I'm leaving so many off.
No,
the
it's
list.
good.
I feel so guilty.
No, this is perfect. This is perfect. Okay.
Stop by Nice Day.
Yeah, stop it. Yeah, sure.
In.
Yeah. Okay. Where can people find you guys? Website, social media.
For sure. So our social handle is we.r.niceday. Our website, unfortunately, we couldn't secure that URL. There's a fun story there. I will gladly tell that at any point in time.
Oh, go ahead quickly. Is it fast?
I mean, relatively quickly. If you're familiar with Firefly, I think it was
the
Firefly,
festival.
The festival that
like
upside down.
Yeah, it was like a sham.
One of the two partners owns that URL. I reached out to this guy, found his name off of Whois. I think it's whois.org to find names of people that own things. Got in touch with him, and I think he wanted to sell me the URL for like $100,000. And I was like, I can see why the festival didn't go very well.
That's a fun little lore.
Yeah. So, and I'm probably missing some components of it, but I could find the emails and I'll send them to you.
That's hilarious. Is it used? Is there a website backed to it right now?
There wasn't for the longest time. The last time I had time was years. Years went by with nothing on it. If there is, it's new. I haven't checked it.
Hilarious.
But so I say that to say that our actual URL is not We Are Nice Day, unfortunately. It is nicedayahead.com, AHEAD. And then we're in South End. We're right next to Vinyl. Incredibly grateful for Pisa Folia right there. Incredibly grateful for our office space. If you're in the area, pop in. We're always welcoming of strangers. We'd love to say hello. That's just kind of our vibe. So.
Guys, this has been a great way to come back after our break with Queen City Unleashed sponsor. And you guys will always, always, always be the first sponsor of Queen City Unleashed. And I will forever be grateful for the partnership, but more importantly, your friendship and the nuggets that I'm continually gleaning from you and just your constant support. It means the world to me. And this year especially has helped us grow and become what we are becoming. So I'm grateful for you. Brother. Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be back. I don't know if it's going to be the next 2 weeks or it could be a little while, maybe pending, but we will be back and we hope you continue to join us. Thank you.